Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dear devotees, please sing on your end. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe Jaya Lalita Vishaka Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe Jaya Nitai Gora Sundar Nitai Gora Sundar Gora Hari Prabhupada 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada Ram Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pri Rajakacharya Astatara Satashri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privajagacharya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Welcome everyone to the morning Bhagavatam class. We'll be reading 7.11.1 and 7.11 summary. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Shinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravan Kirtana Hridyantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nashtraprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishaki Satam Prasangan Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kataha Tajjoshanarashvapavargavartmani Shradharati Bhaktir Nukramishyati. I'll go to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Canto 7, Chapter 11, The Perfect Society for Social Classes. Summary. This chapter describes the general principles by following which a human being, and specifically one who is interested in advancing in spiritual life, can become perfect. By hearing about the characteristics of Prahlad Maharaj, Yudhishthira became extremely pleased. Now he inquired from Narada Muni about the actual religion of a human being, and about special characteristics of Varnashram Dharma, which marks the highest status of human civilization. When Maharaj Yudhishthira asked Narada Muni about these matters, Narada Muni stopped giving his own statements and quoted statements by Lord Narayana, for he is the supreme authority for giving religious codes. Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. Every human being is expected to acquire 30 qualities such as truthfulness, mercy, and austerity. The process of following the principles of religion is known as Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religious system. The Varnashram system delineates the divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. It also sets forth the system of samskaras. The Garbhadhana samskara, the ceremony for begetting a child, must be observed by the higher section of people, namely the Dvijas. One who follows the Garbhadhana samskara system is actually twice born, but those who deviate from the principles of Varnashram Dharma are called Dvija Bandhus. The principal occupations for a Brahmana are worshipping the deity, teaching others how to worship the deity, studying the Vedic literatures, teaching the Vedic literatures, accepting charity from others, and again giving charity to others. A Brahmana should make his livelihood from these 6 occupational duties. The duty of a Kshatriya is to give protection to the citizens and levy taxes upon them, but he is forbidden to tax the Brahmanas. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement should therefore be exempt from government taxation. Kshatriyas may tax everyone but the Brahmanas. Vaishyas should cultivate the land, produce food, grains, and protect the cows. Whereas the Shudras, who by quality never become Brahmanas, Kshatriyas or Vaishyas, should serve the 3 higher classes and be satisfied. Other means of livelihood are also prescribed for the Brahmanas, and these are 4: Shalina, Yayavara, Shila, and Unchana. Each of these occupational duties is successively better. One who is in a lower grade of social life cannot accept the profession of a higher class unless necessary. In times of emergency, all the classes but the Kshatriyas may accept professional duties of others. The means of livelihood known as Rita, Shilonchana, Amrita, Ayachita, Mrita Yachna, Pramrita, Karshana, and Artha, Vanijya, may be accepted by everyone but the Kshatriyas. For a Brahmana or a Kshatriya engaging in the service of the Vaishyas and Shudras is considered the profession of dogs. Nardimuni also described the symptom of a Brahmana is controlled senses. The symptoms of a Kshatriya are power and fame. The symptom of a Vaishya is service to the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and the symptom of a Shudra is service to the three higher classes. The qualification for a woman is to be a very faithful and chaste wife. In this way, Narada Muni described the characteristics of higher and lower grades of people and recommended that one follow the principles of his caste and his hereditary occupation. One cannot suddenly give up a profession to which he is accustomed, and therefore it is recommended that one gradually be awakened. The symptoms of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are very important, and therefore one should be designated only by these symptoms and not by birth. Designation by birth is strictly forbidden by Narada Muni and all great personalities. Next one. Shri Shukavacha Shutvehitam sadhu sabhajitam Mahatamagranya Urukramatmanaha Yudhishthiro Daitya Patermudanvita Papracha Bhuyastanayam Svayam Bhuvaha Shri Shuka Uvacha Shrutvehitam sadhu sabhajitam Mahatamagranya Urukramatmanaha Yudhishthiro Daitya Patermudanvita Ita Papracha Bhuyastanayam Svayam Bhuvaha Shri Shuka Uvacha Shudvehitam sadhu sabhajitam Mahatamagranya Urukramatmanaha Yudhishthiro Daitya Patermudanvita Papracha Bhuyastanayam Swayambhuvaha. Please recite.
Shri Shukuvacha Shudvehitam sadhu sabhajitam Mahatamagranya Urukramat Manaha Yudhishthiro Daitya Pater Mudanvitaha Prapracha Bhuyastanayam Svayambhuvaha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha Yudvehitam Saru Sabhajitam Mahatmana Granya Urukramanaha Udhishthiro Daitya Pater Udhanvita Prapachya Bhujas Tanayam Swayam Bhuvaha.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Synonyms. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Shrudva, hearing, Ihitam, the narration, Sadhu Sabhajitam, which is discussed in assemblies of great devotees like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Mahattama Agranyaha, the best of the saintly persons, Yudhishthira, Urukrama Atmanaha, of he, Prahlad Maharaj, whose mind is always engaged upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always acts uncommonly, Yudhishthira, King Yudhishthira, Daitya Patehe, of the master of the demons, Mudha Anvitaha. Shukadeva Goswami continued. After hearing about the activities and character of Prahlad Maharaj, which are adored and discussed among great personalities, like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Yudhishthira Maharaj, the most respectful king among exalted personalities, again inquired from the great saint Narada Muni in a mood of great pleasure. Amagyanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raguna Tanvitam Tam Sarivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The verse again. Shukadev Goswami continued, after hearing about the activities and character of Prahlad Maharaj, which are adored and discussed among great personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Yudhishthira Maharaj, the most respectful king among exalted personalities, again inquired from the great saint Narada Muni in a mood of great pleasure. So again, welcome everyone to this morning's Bhagavatam class. Glad to have you great souls here as we dive into this Bhagavatam verse. So, this is Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 11, The Perfect Society, 4 Social Classes, the chapter summary, and text 1. So we just finished discussing Prahlad Maharaj and Shringadev's pastimes for many chapters of the 7th canto, and now we're moving into more philosophy, and Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking Narada Muni about Varnashram Dharma. So first, Narada Muni is going to explain the 4 social classes in this chapter, chapter 11, and then in the next chapter, he's going to talk about the spiritual classes, the ashramas. So this chapter would be the Varnas. And of course, last chapter we heard about Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees. So we can hear some main points at the beginning of this verse is that it's identified that Yudhishthira Maharaj just heard of the activities and character of Prahlad Maharaj, which are adored and discussed by great personalities. And we also see this mood of inquiry and hearing, and like the speaker and the listener. This inquiry that Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking from Narada Muni. And of course, that Shukadeva Goswami is responding to Parikshit Maharaj. So always conversations in the Bhagavatam. And qualities and activities, not your birth, your varnas, are based on your qualities and activities, your guna and karma, not your birth. So Narada Muni makes that point clear in the not janma, not birth, in the last text of this chapter. Yeah, and it's amazing too because Prahlad Maharaj's qualities, they're also adored even by the Lord himself. Lord Chaitanya and Gadadhar Pandit would have this purport. The characteristics of Prahlad are described in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the characteristics of Dhruva are described in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Gaura Sundar was the listener. He attentively heard topics of Prahlad and Dhruva's cultivation of devotional service from the mouth of Sri Gadadhar hundreds of times. It's interesting also because we've just seen some videos, movies recently about these pastimes. So, Maha Avatar Nrsimha described the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, for example. And there was a short film circling about Dhruva Maharaj as well. That was posted on YouTube. And something I was thinking about in terms of Prahlad Maharaj's qualities, an example of one of his qualities is compassion. He's compassionate. Obviously he said Komra Macharet Pragyo at the beginning of life, take to Krishna consciousness, and his compassion was he was encouraging all his classmates, friends to take up Krishna consciousness. And that is the compassion that we see in great souls encouraging others to take up Krishna consciousness. The real welfare work, you can see, he wasn't, his love was, it was expressed in action, like the passion. It wasn't just, quality. It was, he offered, service, love, and action to try to help the souls come to Krishna. Just like we see Yashodeva and Nandini's and all the helpers at Bhakti Yoga Center doing. We have one of them online, Parameshwari, one of the other helpers. The devotees are compassionate, right? That's the Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasindubheva Ptitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Y'all should have Tarika Bhagwan here, so compassionate, always helping us to uphold the Siddhanta, and Mother Yashoda Devi, always expressing her love to the devotees, Mother Chintamani as well, expressing love to devotees, enveloping devotees in warm hugs. It talks about, that the devotees are compassionate to the fallen conditioned souls. And the joke is, though, that Radha Swami once made a joking, or he has made this joke that we say Vancha Kalpa, but we actually want to punch them to the end of the Kalpa. Also kind of sounds like Pancha Couple, Pancha Kalpa. So, but no, we actually want to like express, compassion and, tolerance and all that, because just as I might be tolerating someone is also tolerating me. Yeah, and some interesting Sanskrit that was in this verse. There was one word or word combo that I wanted to point out. Urukramatma. So that describes Prahlad Maharaj, whose mind is always engaged upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always acts uncommonly. So this is a combination of Urukrama and Atmanaha. So Urukrama, if you don't already have it in your dictionary of names of Krishna, you can add that one. Means the Supreme Personality of Godhead who always acts uncommonly. And of course, we see in society, we all like to talk about uncommon acts, like, someone can do something that others can't, like, like when people can like put both of their legs behind their neck, things like that. They're like, ooh, whoa, like that's crazy. Of course, there are probably a lot of people who can do that at this point, but uh, oh, oops, sorry, I was freezing, devotees. So yeah, if I cannot see the comments right now, so just unmute if there's something I need to be alerted of. So so we can dovetail this interest in hearing uncommon acts to hearing about Krishna's activities, that he always acts uncommonly. He displayed so many activities for us to discuss. Like, I was thinking about the pastime of Krishna swallowing the forest fire. I was just talking to Yashdeva Prabhu about this, and I asked him, okay, do you know what the reason is why Krishna asked the cowherd boys to close their eyes before he swallowed the fire? So I heard Radhanath Swami speaking about this. So the reason Radhanath Swami spoke about in this class recently that he gave live was well, of course, correct me if I'm wrong, Ashtay Prabhu, but I believe it was the dirt was the example whenever Krishna's cowherd friends told on him for eating dirt. So he was like, okay, I'm not giving you a chance, basically, in my own words, to telling me again by seeing me swallow this this forest fire. So he had them close their eyes, and then he swallowed the forest fire. So sweet. So yeah, because I was like, was it dirt or butter that they told on him? But it's not butter. I'm pretty sure it's dirt, because like, they all like cover for each other with the butter, but then dirt, they were like saying, yeah, Krishna ate dirt. And he's like, ugh. And he's like saying how like Balaram was lying and stuff, but or like, the Howard boys were lying, but no. Like, oh no, mother, I didn't eat dirt. So he wasn't giving them that chance again. So we can see, yes, in that that word Urukramatmanaha, that Prahlad Maharaj's mind was always engaged upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always acts uncommonly. So Prahlad's Maharaj's mind was always engaged, and then the Lord always acts uncommonly. So there's always time to be engaged upon the Lord. And I was just thinking about this word engagement, right? Engage, like you hear like two people got engaged to be married. There's multiple different uses for the word engage. Like, and we, of course, we've always had our relationship with Krishna, but we're just trying to revive it, that we've forgotten that relationship. And so, we want to become engaged with him again, and, our marriage with him, that we're servants in our relationship of love with him and part and parcels of him. And of course, we also hear like the word engage our energy in his service. We have to engage our energy somewhere. That we engage it in the service of the Lord, just like Bhagavad Gita, Yagyartat karmanon yatra, loko yam karma bandhanaha. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work causes bondage in this world. So we have to act for Krishna's pleasure, or else would be bound by the reactions of karma. So we engage our energy in his service. Also, we engage our mind in thinking of him. Man mana bhavamad bhakto. Engage your mind in thinking of me. And also, we engage others, like we do at the Bhakti Yoga Center. We engage people who are who may be materially attached. We engage them in the spirit of devotion. We don't tell them to give up work, but to act in the spirit of devotion. That's another Bhagavad Gita verse. Nabhuti bedam janayad, agyanam karma sangunam. Also, I was thinking of the word engage in this other verse, how some worse than engagement in the culture of national activities is engagement in the culture of so-called knowledge. It's a verse from Isha Upanishad. It's the mantra 9 of Isha Upanishad, Sri Isha Upanishad. Sorry for that light above me. I had to switch to my phone because of okay, Yashadev confirmed yes earlier. Because of the my camera was not working so well. So and classes can be full of shloks and jokes, as Praladananda Swami told Sakyarats Prema Prabhu, who told me. So they're the jokes will keep people awake. So I was laughing earlier this morning. I hope I can give you guys a laugh. There's this, you can even look it up. There's this YouTube video called Prashadam Monster. It's just like we have Cookie Monster. There's a video of the Cookie Monster is going, Prashadam, Prashadam, Prashadam. He's the Prashadam Monster. And he's like, mercy, 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 Prashadam. So anyway, we always want to be engaged in honoring the Prashadam of the Lord, getting that mercy from the Lord. And engaging our mind and fixing our mind on him in whatever ways we can attract it to him. So there are some beautiful, interesting, creative productions that people have made that help engage your mind on him, like the Prashada Monster. I mean, he was really feeling like how important the mercy is of the Prashadam. Like he was checking with someone in the video, like, okay, so it doesn't have meat, fish, or eggs, right? And it doesn't have this, right? Because they were offering something to him, or he was gonna maybe take some food from them, and he's like making sure. And then when he found out it was Prashadam, he was like, oh, and he ate it all. Very funny. There's also a very funny YouTube video about Prashadam. Funny, but like also encouraging and inspiring about, it's like it's prasadarian, so it's like, I'm basically not a vegetarian, I'm a prasadarian. Khichdi, rice, dal, sabji, like it says all these prasad like names, and then like shows all these pictures of offering plates in it. It's like 10 minutes long. It's very, very enlivening to help you appreciate prasadam. We were watching, bringing some of these up at the Bhakti Yoga Center once with Ubir Prabhu and Yashadev Prabhu, Corey Prabhu. So yeah, show it to your kids, Cookie Monster, the Prasadam Monster. And then also, okay, just bringing back to the point of inquiry and hearing. So obviously we hear that Yudhishthira Maharaj, he's inquiring from Narada Muni in this verse. So just thinking about how inquiry is foundational to our movement, our culture, and our life. It's the way our Bhagavatam classes are held, the way our other classes are held. Like, someone speaks, and then there's a chance at the end for questions, and there's discourse and dialogue back and forth. And of course, we have Prabhupada's book, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers, and Vaisheshika Prabhu's book, The Four Questions. Very nice book. Shout out to Madhupan Leela for gifting that to me on my birthday a week or so ago. Definitely spent a lot of time last night reading that when I should have been sleeping. That was a tangent. But he talks about, like, the fourth question is like, where you ask yourself, where am I giving my attention right now? And It's a very powerful question. And then what is the lesson is another very powerful question. Instead of saying like, oh, why me? Or like, we can kind of say, okay, what is the lesson here for me? The first question that was in the order of questions in the book was, what's my purpose? And then it was, how may I be of service? And then what is the lesson? And then where can I place my attention right now? So very beautiful. And also in terms of the hearer and the listener, when Hari Parshad Prabhu, he was here for a retreat on Memorial Day, he was here along with Ramapad Maharaj's retreat. So they kind of did a combined retreat. And yeah, they did a combined retreat. And every time he would give his lectures, he would always start, and he would, I think with every one of them, but it's just his thing he does. I've heard it in other ones on YouTube, where he glorifies the audience and how like the speaker very much appreciates a like-minded audience. And also, like without the audience, yeah, like what is a speaker? Like you speak to someone, or you speak to the four walls, as Prabhupada said, and of course then there's the living entities in the air who are hearing also. And then what is that mood of conversation? It's like, we hear like to inquire submissively, like Tadvidi Pranipate, and I inquire from the spiritual master submissively. And also here, Yudhishthira Maharaj, she's inquiring from Narada Muni in a mood of great pleasure. So I just love how the Bhagavatam always gives such a nice example for, dialogue, like asking questions and answering questions. Like the questioner often glorifies the character of the person who they're asking questions of, like, oh, you're so qualified to, speak about this, and I'm very eager to hear from you. And that encourages the speaker by hearing that their eagerness. Hearing the eagerness encourages the speaker, and the speaker hears more, and then the listener is inspired and asks more, and it's just very beautiful. I remember in one Bhagavatam class I was sharing how that was inspiring me, and I was trying to practice that in my life. Like, I was like telling my dad, like, yeah, like, it's so many words. Oh yeah, like I really appreciate like, the way you share the Krishna conscious philosophy, and it really makes it like really easy for me to understand. Like, like I really love hearing from you. Like, can you tell me about this? And so it's just very encouraging just to like, because it's something that's already in my head, but it's nice to share that. So on the topic of hearing, it's a very interesting story, which actually my dad just said that Tarek just brought this up in Bhagavatam class the other day. It's interesting. Where it's told here by Mahakrati Prabhu. I'll just summarize it. I have the whole paragraph here, but yeah, actually I can just read it. Prabhupada was on the Vyasasana about to lecture, and there was a group of 10 or 12 devotees sitting near him. I was sitting under a corner of the Vyasasana. Hansaduta and Yashodanandana were also there. When Prabhupada started to speak in Hindi, a whole bunch of devotees got up to leave. Prabhupada stopped speaking. He looked at us and said in English, "This is for you as well. Where are you going? Stop. You should all stay here and listen." The devotees thought that they could walk away from Prabhupada's lecture since they didn't understand the language. But Prabhupada didn't like that at all. He wanted everybody to sit and listen because whether we understood it or not, it was purifying for us. Afterwards, he said, "You devotees don't understand the potency of this preaching. It is what is going to purify your hearts. You'll become Krishna conscious by hearing, even if you don't understand, not by wandering around." So I was looking this up because I remember hearing about how this pastime where even when he was speaking in Hindi, speaking in another language, still you sit and hear. It's purifying sound vibration. So it's funny because the Russian retreat also just happened around July 4th weekend. And the same experience happened. It's not really funny. I just mean like it reminded me of this pastime because during the Russian retreat, we went there to offer some kirtan in the evening, and when we went there was a Prabhu who was singing Jai Radha Madhava, and then he started giving class, and I was wondering if it was going to be in Russian or English, and it was in Russian, and it's like I knew it was like purifying sound vibration, but it was also nice whenever he would say Sanskrit verses, Like I would like be like, oh, this is a point he's talking about right now, like, you know, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishna or something, and you're like, oh wow, cool. So that was also a beautiful experience. But yeah, we understand this transcendental sound vibration, not material sound vibration. And that's the same thing with the Srimad Bhagavatam, is transcendental sound vibration. Even if we don't understand it, it's purifying us. Prabhupada says about on chanting Hare Krishna that there's no need, therefore, to understand the language of the mantra, nor is there any need for a mental speculation, nor any intellectual adjustment for chanting this Maha Mantra. One of the earlier Bhakti Godhead magazines, issue 4, Brahmananda Prabhu, he has like a really short poem on this, and I'm gonna read it, but I'm also gonna put it in the chat because it's I think it takes like a second to process. Like it's easier to also like see it. So even after I recite it, you can also look in the chat later, or if you're by your computer now. It's very good food for thought. Let me see if I can actually. Okay, I'm not gonna try to make spaces between the stanzas. Sorry. So to think I am chanting Krishna's name is to think of oneself and not of Krishna. We should chant Krishna's name without thinking. To be self-conscious is to be unconscious. Consciousness of Krishna is not thoughts, but knowledge of Krishna. Like, oh, that's really powerful. Because sometimes when I'm reading Kirtan or chanting, it's like, oh, I am chanting Hare Krishna right now. But I like, Prabhupada would encourage us, like not to be like thinking while we're chanting. We're just hearing the mantra. So Brahmananda Prabhu in this poem here is saying, thinking I am chanting Krishna's name is to think of oneself and not of Krishna. And we chant without thinking. And it's to be self-conscious is to be unconscious. So the way I understood that is like when I'm conscious of myself right now, then I'm unconscious of Krishna at that time. That's like in that chanting, that's the way I understood that. Yeah, but consciousness of Krishna is not thoughts, but knowledge of Krishna. So very beautiful. Which there's some more I could share, but I think I'll stop here. So just briefly, we heard about Maharaj Yudhisthira. He's inquiring from Narada Muni about. He's going to inquire from Narada Muni in a mood of great pleasure, and he's just finished hearing about the activities and characters of Lord Maharaj, which are adored and discussed by great personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. And so we see this mood of inquiry and between, in conversation from the speaker and the listener. And then we also understand that this chapter will discuss Varnashram, specifically the 4 Varnas. In this chapter, the social classes. Page, reminding thinking of Krishna and hearing the transcendental sound vibration of the Bhagavatam or the holy name, and knowing that, like, even if, for example, with the Bhagavatam, even if we don't understand it, it's purifying us, and the Krishna consciousness mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is not material sound vibration, transcendental sound vibration. So just remembering that when we're connecting with the mantra, it's not a material. It's not a material level. So I'll just open up here, see if anybody has comments, questions, additions. Directions, realizations. Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Jana. I missed most of the class because we had to get off the Zoom because of bandwidth. But I just joined, and the last thing you read, what you shared about the holy name and just only being conscious of the name and not even thinking about the fact that I'm chanting, just absorbing in the name. And I was thinking about my cousin who comes from a family of Protestant Christians, but her parents named her Krishna. And so my family members, when they're speaking about her or even thinking about her, Krishna's name is being uttered from their lips, but they're not even thinking about chanting. They're not thinking about anything. They're just reciting her name, just kind of like Ajamil did with Narayan, his son Narayan. So I was realizing how wonderful that is. And her sister, her name is Krishna, and her sister just passed away a couple of weeks ago. At home, with her parents, and I was wondering if she at some point, when she was getting close to leaving the body, if she actually called Krishna her sister. But anyway, I was realizing how purifying they are. They are getting purification by chanting the holy name without even realizing it. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It reminded me, yesterday I was on the phone with a bank, and I have the type of bank where you can like make sub accounts online and like name them in terms of what categories they are for like the budget categories. So I was asking about something, and they were trying to tell me which account it was, and they were like KRSNA, and like they were spelling, and because when they first started spelling one, I was like, wait, what? But I guess like and then I was like, oh, Krishna. That was like an account I had for putting money towards for Krishna. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. This is funny. She's like identifying Krishna's name. And actually, you reminded me of this verse. Last, I'll say this verse. Yeah, I remember you like this verse. Bhagavatam 1:114. Yeah. Apanam samsritim ghoram yannama vivashogurnan tata sadyo vimuchyeta yad bibheti swayam bhayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. So, there's that unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna. It's actually funny because in that poem, to be self-conscious is to be unconscious, but the whole unmotivated, mood of like unconscious chanting Krishna Maha Mantra is what we're discussing right now. Very nice. Hey, Yashu. It looks like two people are muted, but I can't see who they are.
John, I don't have a question, a comment, but, well, I guess it is a question. I was wondering if you could just give a small summary of what you covered in the class, since I missed it.
So when you came back, I gave like a summary based on what when I was sharing the conclusion, and actually so we discussed Prahlad's qualities, of compassion and the Vanchakopa prayer, and that Gadadhar Pandit and Lord Chaitanya discussed the pastime of Palamraj hundreds of times. That's how often, the Lord heard the glories applaud from Gadadhar Pandit. And we talked about engagement and that word, engaging in Krishna's service, how Prahlad Maharaj was Urukramatmanaha, he was engaged always, his mind, on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always acts uncommonly. I mentioned the cookie monster. If you look up Prashad Monster on YouTube, it's just for some joy in Krishna consciousness, engaging our mind in all these different creative adaptations. And we talked about asking and answering questions, and that's the way our classes are held. And Hari Prasad Prabhu's classes, where he glorifies the audience, having a like-minded audience, is very meaningful to the speaker, like right now. And Vaisheshika Prabhu's book, The Four Questions, which has the four questions are: what is my purpose? How may I be of service? What is the lesson? And it's something like, where can I best put my attention right now? And what is the lesson is kind of like, instead of saying like, why me, saying like, okay, what's the lesson here? And we talked about that pastime with where the devotees were instructed by Prabhupada to keep listening to a lecture that was in Hindi, even though they didn't speak the language, because basically the sound vibration is purifying us. So that happened when we were listening to, you were there too, and at the Russian retreat we came in, the devotee started giving a class in Russian, and we shared the poem that you heard by Brahmananda Prabhu. And so, any comments on I can share a little more what I have if nobody has a comment or a question. I was just thinking about how one of the recent Sunday feast classes, Sarvama Prabhu shared that Krishna's pleased with our japa even if we're not pleased with our japa. So we're trying to chant, and it's like, oh, this is not this is not pleasing. It's like, jaundice, like taking the sweet thing tastes, like bitter, and also it seems like we're not doing such a nice round, so it's kind of like, why would Krishna even be enjoying these? But he's pleased by our attempt and our intention to chant. So I was just thinking about seeking not our own pleasure, but Krishna's pleasure. In another one of those old Back to Godhead issues, issue 7, Satrup Das Goswami says that the man of wisdom puts aside his desires for those things for which others are searching and seeks Krishna's pleasure. I thought that was really nice. It's like, okay, often, I think I'm searching for, things to please my own senses, and like that's what a lot of us are searching for. So, but the man of wisdom, he puts aside those desires for those things for which others are searching and seeks Krishna's pleasure. That's how actually we will be pleased by. By Shishika Prabhu, in that book, he gives a nice example, a nice story in his life where he was a brahmachari, and he got up and he was really hungry today, and he was like, he really wanted to go get something to eat. But then when he got down there, it was like, when he got to the place to eat, I think they needed a server or something. And so that was like, that wasn't like his plan. His plan was like, okay, I'm gonna go get some prasadam. But he thought then to himself, okay, like to switch his mindset, into, serving there. And then whenever he served, he actually said it was much more satisfying than, and so that's kind of what happens, like, when you get into the mood of service. it's like there's more satisfaction there instead of the mood of, why aren't I being served? And like, so I really want to apply that in my life in terms of applications of what we can apply today. It's like, if we're like, he says in the book, if we're feeling like frustrated or something at some point, and like, try like asking like, how can I be of service? And then like that's gonna take your brain and shift it into a different mode. So very inspiring. And if no one has anything, I can just share more. Oh, Tarika Prabhu. It looks like 3 people are muted. I'm not sure if I'm just seeing things or I don't know. Oh no, they're not unmuted. Okay, it was just my computer acting.
I just unmuted again. I like the point you were making about what Sarvatma said in class about chanting and how Krishna is pleased with our attempts to chant. And I had the image come up of how a child is playing and trying to draw or trying to talk, trying to say or do something, and not so expert at it, but the parent just loves to see it. And just so happy to see the child making its effort, especially if it's to try to please the parent, like giving something to them or drawing. I remember Madi doing that with Yashodev. He gave him a little, like a little flower. He just went over and gave it to him. Um, and so, but at the same time, because you would think, okay, well, Krishna is seeing our efforts, but he knows that it's not on the pure level or like really deep level. But just like a parent sees a child and knows that the child is giving his or her effort the best they can, and still they have to mature. They still have to grow up and mature, um, and then they will get better and better. So we're kind of like those children, and Krishna is the parent, waiting for our devotion to mature.
It's so nice. Yeah, this chanting is exactly like the cry of the child for the mother. Oh, Mother Hara, please, and then the Mother Hara, she brings us to receive the grace of the Father. Yeah, and oh energy of the Lord, oh Lord, please engage me in your service. And actually, speaking of like the child, Dependence on Krishna Day passed recently. So it's Independence Day, but Prabhu always nicely has us celebrate at his house and celebrate it as Dependence on Krishna Day. And he read this nice purport from Bhagavatam 4:935. And yeah, an excerpt of that was, was discussing that the child, just like a child who plays in complete independence, guided by his parents who watch over him. He was saying that the real independence of a living entity who is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to remain always dependent on the Supreme Lord, just like a child. So our real independence is being dependent on the Lord. And just like the child plays in complete independence, guided by his parents who watch over him. So in that purport, he was saying how like we think our independence, Prabhupada was saying that we think our independence is to fight with the obstacles offered by Maya. Very much an illusion. Prabhupada says the independence of the conditioned soul does not mean to fight with the obstacles offered by Maya, but to surrender to Krishna. In the material world, everyone is trying to become completely independent simply by fighting against the obstacles offered by Maya. This is called the struggle for existence. Oh, I see that it's 8 o'clock. Anyway, yeah, so he's very clear though that our actual independence is independence on Krishna. So let's try to depend on Krishna today. If no one has anything else, we can probably end here. Welcome, Sati Prabhu. We're glad to have you on the platform again.
Hare Krishna. I'll just say that if there's some way you could send me that poem by Brahmananda, I'd like to see it in writing. And then I was relating to you because I just remember like reading that or hearing my Gurudev say that, like hearing the names. Because I remember like in some purports in like Bhagavad Gita and different parts of the Bhagavatam, it just lists like so many names. And he was just saying, just hearing those names are purifying. So like I always think that whenever I read those purports, as like list the names of all of these family members, and you're just like, why am I reading all these names? And then I just remember thinking that like, oh, this is purifying me just to hear all these different names of, these different family members or different people in the scriptures. And then I think there was something else I wanted to say, but I forget. Yeah, I just really appreciate what you read about japa. If it comes to me, I'll do it back to you. It's something your father was saying, but that slipped my mind just now. It's a really nice class you just gave. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing. So I put the poem in the chat. Are you able to get it from there?
Yes, I see it. I'll snapshot it.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to what's it called? Send it with the stanzas broken up, so in that way they're actually supposed to be. I'm really happy you brought up that point about all the names you might read in Bhagavatam of the family lineages, because I was actually thinking of bringing up the same thing. So, okie dokie, I'm going to send it with the proper. There you go. Sent that in the chat. Oh, you chai. Yes.
Okay, I remember what else I wanted to say. Just about the chanting, because I was listening to Vishaka Devi recently because she did a class in London, and she was doing like a picture class, and she was showing all these pictures of Prabhupada and telling like about them. And then she was also saying that one time she was just chanting, and Prabhupada came to her, and he was like, he just thanked her, and she wondered what he was thanking her for, and she realized later that just for chanting. And my spiritual master often on WhatsApp will send me. He actually he sends me messages just thanking me for everything I do, and I always think I'm not doing anything. But then I thought of that and thought, well, I'm trying to do devotional service. Like I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do this. So he's just thanking me for doing that and appreciating that I'm still doing that. And then, so I just thought of that also.
That's so beautiful and very encouraging to hear, someone encouraging you to continue what you're doing, like that it's something we're doing, that it's appreciated and pleasing. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom. And so I think we can end here. So glad to have the association of all of you wonderful Vaishnavas. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.